right, thank you everyone for coming to our forum. I'm Carolyn Cahill, I'm Chair of the Park Commissioners. We're going to go ahead and get started. If everyone wants to introduce themselves at the table here.
Yeah, Rob Levash, member of the Park Commission.
Steve Novak, Park Commission member.
Kevin Chrisman, Park Director.
Bonnie DeVore, admin clerk.
My name is Ryan Morrison and I'm from Ty and Bond, helping consult the town on their master plan.
Excellent.
So I think, this has been a long process. I don't know when we started, Ryan, but
It's almost a year ago.
it's almost been a year because our first community meeting was, I think, in July of last year. So it's been a long process, but Ty and Bond, we're finally to the point where we're finalizing this master plan. So I'm gonna hand it over to Ryan to kind of go through this. Basically the initial studies, the findings, and then kind of what we're looking at for future opportunities. And then we're gonna open it up for any questions. So the only thing I would ask is that at the end of this, anybody who has a question, because we're also live here on camera, is just to come up front and we'll call on you and then you can come up front so that you can be heard. So go ahead, Ryan.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say on top of Rob is I want everyone to remember, this is a draft and we're presenting this community because we want feedback back, right?
Yeah.
And so if there's something about tonight that you see, don't say, well, that didn't happen the way I wanted it to.
Right.
We want feedback about what's there that you don't like or you do like along the way. Just as a show of hands, how many have been to, we've had 2 public meetings along the way, Rob?
Yeah.
Right, 2 public meetings, how many have been to one of those public meetings along the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so a good amount of you have been here before, I've heard some of it. I will, for those of you that haven't, I'm gonna walk through the process we've gone through a little bit, so everyone's kind of on a level playing field, and then we'll get to talking about our conclusions. The purpose of this master plan was to help the town assess their recreational facilities across the entire town. And specifically, our goal here was to assess the town-owned facilities to understand how they serve the community, how they could better serve the community, whether they were being overused or underutilized, and then help them identify the gaps and prepare conceptual plans for how they could help improve the amenities for the community. We started this process by doing a field conditions report with the town. We went out with the Parks Commission and walked each one of the sites. We talked a little bit about what's being played at each one of the facilities. We talked a little bit about how they're maintained. We also talked about, what future plans they might have and what projects have been done in the past. Our Ty and Bond's general report about how the fields grade out is that this is the fields and the facilities. Generally, you're consistent with municipal facilities. I would say they're not the greatest facilities, meaning they're not A-tier collegiate facilities, and they're not poor rundown facilities. They're maintained consistent with recreational facilities. They have minor planarity issues, things that could be worked on, not saying they can't be improved, but there was nothing that was like, oh my goodness, we've got to shut these down, these aren't safe, there's huge problems here. They're very consistent with recreational facilities. What we did note was their supporting amenities are lacking. For instance, baseball facilities may not have, nicer dugouts, there may not be bottle filling stations, there may not be some of the passive recreation around the parks that we'd like to see if we designed a park today, such as walking trails, shade structures, all the playground facilities that you might want to see as well. We also saw that there was limited availability to play night games. Not many of your facilities have athletic lighting, or very few have athletic lighting. And so that was a downside, and we'll talk a little bit more why that's a downside later. The big plus that we noted is that you guys have a ton of irrigation facilities throughout your community. And so that helps specifically for the natural turf facilities, making sure they can continue to play when the grass goes dormant in the summer, and they can more easily recover. We also polled users on what we saw from field conditions. We had issues with pet waste was a big problem within the community. People go out, walk their animals on the recreational facilities and maybe aren't cleaning it up. And so that's something we'll probably want to address from a community-wide, whether that means, putting up more signage about dogs or putting up dog waste bags, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, the Parks Commission will work on that, but getting the waste removed so that coaches don't have to take time before they start practices or games to remove waste would be ideal. municipally owned fields not maintained quite as nicely as the private facilities. There's some private facilities that the rec groups are using throughout the community. And one of the feedback items we got was that, like Cunningham's fields maybe are a little bit higher quality than some of the town-owned facilities. So that was good feedback. The next three all kind of play together. We got degraded surface, lack of turf coverage, poor drainage, and inability to play after a rain event. I'll say that all of those kind of combine to each other. They're indicative of fields that are overplayed and not well rested. So when you play on a recreational facility and they get beaten up, the soil becomes compact and then it doesn't want to drain. And then you get a rain event on top of it. Now you can't play on that facility for 4 or 5 days. Hopefully not 4 or 5 days, but a number of days. After we assessed the facilities, we put a survey out to the public. I hope many of you were able to participate in that survey, but we got 1,300 respondents from throughout the community. We previously had done a presentation on all of the survey results we've got, and that will be issued in the final master plan that goes to the town. I picked a couple of key ones out of the survey in order for us to review today, because I was trying to be conscious of everybody's time. And so these are some ones, oh good, I'm glad that's not showing there. These are some ones that we thought were important. The keys here were what were the most used parks. You've got Andrews Park, Cunningham Park, Kelly Field, Flatley, and oddly enough Milton Academy were the 4 highest rated. I think Turner's Pond is another one there. 5 highest rated facilities. I think that's consistent with what you see for size of facilities. The other facilities are a little bit less. Important to note that the blue bar graphs are not town-owned facilities. The orange bar graphs there are town-owned facilities. This next graph is when we asked the respondents what fields or what parks were most needed improvements. There was a wide variety of votes, and just as so everyone can know, you could vote on multiple facilities, that's why this doesn't add up to 100. But the 2 highest rated were Flatley Field and Lower Guile Field. I think Lower Guile Field was noted because I think a lot of people know there's a project that could happen there or may happen there, so that one was rated high. So the third most was Kelly Field at 31%. Anything else I want to say about this? I think we're good there. Did you have something, Carolyn? No. Other things we wanted to cover was support for additional fields. One of the things we heard kind of early on before we had an opportunity to interview coaches was, is there support for more fields? Coaches were saying, hey, I think we need more fields, we'll have to put some numbers to it. And so we wanted to ask the public, like, would there be some more for more fields? Could we grow the rec program? And people would be in support of that. And so we kind of got overwhelming support for more fields. 80.28% were in support of additional fields. 82% were in support of the town acquiring more space for fields. And 82.4% were in support of increasing staffing needs. Because if you increase the number of parks or the amount of space to maintain, you don't want the town to forget that you're gonna have to increase maintenance staff in order to take care of these facilities. You don't wanna make that capital investment and not maintain them. We also asked respondents their preferred additions to Milton Rec facilities. The highest by far was 61.27% for rectangular fields. Passive activities were 35.93%. Passive activities could be walking trails, fitness courses, things that wouldn't be considered necessarily athletic events. I know we have a contingency here from pickleball. Pickleball was the 4th highest rated request at 16.58%. We've got some notes on the side there of what got into the other, and so you got basketball courts, additional dog parks, or indoor facilities were requested. The other piece, and I added this slide in here because I thought it was helpful to understand as we asked the public about their opinion on synthetic turf fields. 73% either said strongly in favor or somewhat in favor, while 28% either said strongly opposed or somewhat opposed. Sorry, guys.
You can say yes.
I hope not. That would be so sad. It's gotten me once before, not in a public meeting though. The next thing we did was we put together the field inventory, so when we talked to the coaches, we could understand, and this is probably very hard for you at the back of the room to read, and so I'm just gonna go over the highlights of this chart.
Oh, they have a screen there.
Oh, perfect. So multi-purpose rectangular fields, the town has 7 that they can use for the rec program. They only have 5 that are owned by town facilities. There's one at Milton Academy field hockey field that's played, and the high school track, while it's within the town, it's not scheduled typically for town facilities. It's more meant for high school recreation, high school athletic facilities. The town owns 3 90-foot diamonds, or I should say the town owns 2 90-foot diamonds, but has a total of 3 to play on. The one private one is at Cunningham. They have a total of 7 60-foot baseball fields, 5 of which are on town-owned parcels. One is located at Houghton Ponds and one is at Cunningham. It has 6 60-foot softball fields, 3 of which are on town-owned property. The other ones are on Cunningham and at Houghton's Pond. It has 1 t-ball field, which is located at Andrews Park. It has 4 basketball courts, and I've labeled it tennis/pickleball, but it has 9 available courts within the community. 7 total at Kelly Field, 2 at Andrews Park. Yeah, 7 at Kelly Field and 2 at Andrews Park. Does that make sense with everybody? Does anybody think we've missed something along the way?
Sorry, is Mary C. Lane or
Shields.
and Shields as well?
Shields.
I didn't name the stuff that was in town owned, so when I said there's 5 that are on town owned parks for baseball fields or softball fields, for instance, at the 60-foot baseball field size.
Hills Park is there.
They are both there.
They're both there, yeah.
To answer the question, they're
Oh, sorry.
both on the
They're
60-foot
both there,
diamond,
yeah.
yes.
Thanks, guys.
And Donovan, that's not a T-ball at Lower Vale.
Yeah, that's a Little League field.
Little League field, correct. I think we called that Lower Guile Field instead of calling it Donovan. So then we had conversations with coaches and we asked them to tell us a little bit about their program. We asked them to tell us, how their program was growing, how many athletes they had in their program, how much they were practicing, where they were practicing, where they were playing games. These conversations range from 30 minutes to an hour with each one of them. I wouldn't want to give you all of the notes for that, so I tried to sum it up in the common themes we saw throughout the coaches. The high points was they'd like to see improved maintenance at the facilities. The largest item that I heard from almost consistently all of the coaches is they'd like more opportunities to practice at the facilities. In many opportunities, the young kids are joining rec leagues and they're able to practice for the first couple of weeks before games get played, and then once games start, the kids are no longer able to practice. And so they really want the opportunity to be able to practice regularly. What's happening is that they feel that the rec leagues are suffering because kids are leaving to go play for travel teams where they get the opportunity to practice, or they're dropping out of rec leagues altogether.
And they're not able to practice because there's not enough.
Cause there's not enough.
There's not enough field space to get them, and that plays into that lighting discussion and the lack of turf and overplaying on field space, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Well, actually, we'll talk about it now. More field space and add lighting schedule to flexibility. Additional details about some of the things we talked about. Poor drainage is causing them to cancel games, and when they cancel a game, their ability to make it up is non-existent because they, if it rains and they already have a game scheduled for the following day, they can't bump that game to play the game they lost on Tuesday. Everything's flat out, and so oftentimes when they cancel a game, they may just have to cancel that game altogether and they never get a chance to play it, or they're like trying to squeeze it in. There were some of the coaches were talking about having to like play on a game like 5 to 6:30 and try to get a game 6:30 before it was dark, and they're like getting to unsafe conditions when it's getting dark because there's no lights at the facility. And so it's causing them some issues in getting the kids what they were expecting out of the experience. We also asked everybody wants the most beautiful facility to play and practice at, but have coaches kind of considered where they could play and have opportunities for ground balls or stretching or team drills. And so when we asked that feedback from the coaches, we generally found them being very creative in their opportunities to find practice spaces. For instance, one of the ones that got often talked about is there's an area in Middle Guile at the high school, which is not programmed as the softball space and it's not programmed as the baseball space, and it's just behind like the recreational facility. It's kind of a dead zone in the field. It's not a big enough area for a full field, but we've often found coaches going over there to get warm-ups in, throw the ball around, get practices in. So we felt like they're being really creative on trying to maximize the space that the town currently does have. We also asked them, you know, are they getting most use out of like out of town or in town private options? And generally found that the coaches have tried to use Milton Academy or Curry College, and have actually recently had some success at Curry College, I learned last night. But soccer had some success.
Yeah.
And there's been some opportunities at Milton Academy, but Milton Academy has its own program it's trying to serve. And so the slots that are available don't always play well into the rec committee's needs. Anything I missed, Rob? After Time Bond was able to talk to the coaches, was able to talk to the parks group, understand the facilities conditions, we made an assessment based on all these items to try and figure out what we need to serve the rec groups. That doesn't mean that there's not other things that need to occur, but we wanted to understand how can we help the rec groups meet their needs and help the community meet their needs for passive and active recreation. Our general conclusion has been that the existing system is operating at or above capacity, especially for multi-purpose rectangular fields. And the most consistent thing that I think I can't stress enough is that the natural turf fields have no ability for recovery or ability to be rotated. And so when you play consistently in the same spots on a rectangular field, the same spots get worn out. Same thing, a little bit less for baseball, but if you can ever rotate a field to a different direction, you can misalign those wear spots. Even if you rotate it 30 degrees, you could take away those wear spots on a field. But because we're kind of maxing out everything's capacity and we don't have a lot of wide open spaces in Milton, everything's kind of programmed just so to fit, there's no opportunity to rotate these fields or deconflict wear spots. And so these natural grass fields are not getting the ability to recover like they'd like, which is making Kevin's job a lot harder than it should be in order to maintain the facilities. The needs we've identified is that we think the community needs somewhere between 3 to 4 new multi-purpose rectangular fields. So think of soccer or lacrosse, hockey. Multi-purpose means it serves everybody in the community. It's not meant for any one group. 2 to 3 additional 60-foot baseball diamonds. That could be baseball or softball diamonds. We don't have, I think whatever serves the community the best, and sometimes these field spaces can be flexible depending on who's playing there. We think walking trails need to be added at the majority of the parks to provide passive recreational opportunities. We would really like to see athletic lighting added to the facilities, specifically if athletic lighting could be added with a turf field. That provides the most ability to serve the most people. And then we'd like to see more passive recreation opportunities. We'd like to see more pickleball added and fitness course provided so that the community has an opportunity to get some exercise out of these facilities. One of the pieces that I think helps this conversation is talking about additional land versus synthetic turf, which is really our 2 options there to add more field space to the community. If you replace a natural turf field with a synthetic turf field, it's approximately +2 in field inventory, and I'm gonna add one caveat to that it has to be a lighted synthetic turf field. And the reason that is that a natural turf field can take somewhere about 200 uses in a year. We'll define a use as 2 hours of play with 2 teams on the facility. We found that after that 200 uses, certainly there's communities, I'll tell you, there's communities that have like schedules that I've done the math on, and they're playing like 400 to 500, but the facility is absolutely beat. And they've put a lot of money in to try and maintain it year after year, and they can't maintain it. So we say to keep a natural turf facility looking well and provide an opportunity for Kevin to maintain it, it's about 200 uses. If you're gonna play on a synthetic turf field, it doesn't care how much you play on it. It only cares about its solar exposure, so it just degrades over time. And so with lights and a synthetic turf field, we approximate you can get somewhere between 600 and 700 uses on the facility, depending on how well it's scheduled. And so we say that a synthetic turf field is basically +2 fields over a natural turf field. If you wanted to provide a new natural turf field in order to supplement and add field space, you would need approximately 2 acres of land that's plus parking and amenities, so that a multi-purpose rectangular field that would serve soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, all of that, is about 90,000 square feet. And so that's almost 2 acres. That's without doing anything else. And so there's not a ton, what we've learned throughout this process, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that, is there's not many 2-acre slots available within the town in order to provide a rectangular field. If there is, there's a reason they haven't been developed, is kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's important to just hit that note. I think the main reason for doing this study was we knew that the programming was surpassed our field usage. We just knew that. But really now we've done a study to figure out where we are, where we have a deficit, and then how can we solve this deficit. And so within the study, we've also looked at, with Ryan, a few other spaces in town. One, I think some folks may know in town, like over by the town dump, there's, I don't know how many, like 4 or 5 acres over by the town dump. Well, it was in the land swap that went over there. It's in between 2 conservation parcels. It's basically useless to really develop as a parcel without a lot of money. And it's basically a wetland, and it's the topography also is pretty bad. So we looked at that one. There's also one other opportunity. There's a other parkland that's over by the end of Brush Hill Road, where I live. Down there, that's also got its challenges because it's by the river and such. So those were really the 2 parcels that we looked at because we just don't have it. Anybody who lives in Milton knows that land is a big premium, and as you know, 1 acre is probably $1 million for land. So that's the issue that we have in front of us as we kind of go forward.
I'm gonna go back to the slide for a second. Well, we were here, and I moved on from there because we got talking about acres of land. And then this slide here doesn't give you a ton of information, but we tried to prioritize how the town should go about, and this will be expanded on a little bit in the report, how the town should go about expanding its field, meeting the needs of the community. Expand field capacity wherever possible, understand where its demand is highest. You should do that by trying to advance synthetic turf strategy first. Because that's easier than pursuing the land and then putting a construction project on top of it. Where possible, improve it. The third priority is where possible, improve existing natural turf. That means adding under drainage to it, supplementing the loam layer so that it drains better, and adding irrigation if it doesn't already have irrigation, but the majority of yours already does. Enhance supporting amenities, address the lighting, parking, restrooms, storage, and shade and accessibility at the different parks. Pursue land and additional funding for long-term construction projects. I think I had a conversation with some of you guys over here. Some of these things may take a long time. And so while it's not a priority, I think you can make some quick hitter improvements that address needs right away in the community while some of this long lead time stuff kind of develops over time. And then continue with community engagement. This master plan process is never really quite done. We'll come up with conceptual layouts, and we're gonna review a couple of those with you today. Even once the master plan's final, like I've told the parks group this, that's just a draft of what that park could look like. When you get into, say the town decides to move forward with one of these projects, there'll probably be 3 community meetings about what does this park look like in the future? How do we tweak everything to best fit the community? Certainly don't think the community engagement process is done at the end of this master plan, because I don't wanna speak on behalf of the Parks Commission, but we've talked about how that's gonna continue.
I think one other important thing to talk about is just the Community Preservation Committee in town. In the last 4 years, we've really been able to utilize the CPA funds to help improve our parks and rec. And that's always 1/3 of the budget of a CPA. And we continually get applications in to improve the parks and rec. So that's just one avenue that we can help provide funding for some of these projects. So this master plan will provide a map for the commissioners to look at how can we utilize that funding better and prioritize some of the projects as we go forward.
This next is kind of a summary of what we're about to look at. Basically, I've broken these into 3 different groups. The top group there, which includes Milton High School, Middle Guile Field, Pierce Middle School and Kelly Field are projects that we looked at during this conceptual process that we didn't prioritize. Doesn't mean that there's not things we can't do there, but when we talk about how do we address the need of field deficit, none of these worked in order to make us, none of those worked in order to add field space to the community. We looked at the access road parcel, that was the undeveloped parcel Rob was talking about. Due to a number of constraints, we'll have a brief conversation about that, about why that doesn't work. And then the other two fields, which we're gonna provide conceptual layouts for today and review with you, which is Andrews Park and Flatley Field, showed us the most promise as the ability of addressing some of the needs of the community.
One other important point just on that, just back,
Sure.
is I think through this study too, what we have found out is that a lot of our existing parks and fields are laid out pretty well, right? So when we look back at Kelly, we done some test fits and we thought, well, no, this really does work out well for what it's planned for, which kind of like put me at ease because we just spent $200,000 on new dugouts at Kelly. So that's also, if you guys haven't seen it, that's a great amenity now that's at Kelly. So that kind of reassured us. And there's also some projects that we also held because of this master plan. One of them being the natural grass field at Andrews, which we basically found out that was the best place for the field, the big rectangular field. And that's in for CPA funding this year.
So this is the high school complex altogether. For those of you that may not be familiar with the names, if we move, here we go. If you can see my cursor, that's Lower Guile Field where there's currently a proposed synthetic turf field. Up here is Middle Guile Field, or Middle Guile, and the Middle Guile is this entire complex in between the two hillsides. We looked at the field on the north side of this and tried to see if we could reconfigure in any way, or if we added synthetic turf to it, if it would add any available access to the community for additional rectangular fields. The cost of this project was very high, with not nearly the same amount of benefit to the community because of the way the baseball and softball field currently lay out. You would never have a rectangular field that would play completely by itself. And so there would always be overlap in scheduling conflicts. Additionally, the amount of space there that you would be covering with synthetic turf is very large, and so the cost of this project was quite extensive. We did try playing with the layouts of each one of these, shifting them around up at Middle Guile, and found no net improvement. We also looked at Pierce Middle School. Pierce Middle School has currently a small rectangular field at it that the flag football folks play at. We tried two different projects here. One was to see if we could fit a full-size multipurpose rectangular field. That did not work here. We also just looked at if we added rectangular fields elsewhere in the community, what if we had a nod to softball or baseball? Does that fit? It does. It's an opportunity in the future if we ever ended up taking a softball field or baseball field offline. You have an opportunity to put a softball field here. I would say it's not the highest priority because you're taking a multipurpose rectangular field offline to provide it. But if there ever became a need in the community, it's certainly something that fits there and could serve the community. Try not to get dizzy looking at. This was Kelly Field, and I just wanted to give you an idea of how many different ways we tried to fit things here. And none of it really works as well as what's there. Our idea here was trying to rotate field space in order to provide a multi-purpose rectangular field that fits outside of those two, of the baseball field and the softball field. And even with moving or changing tennis courts, which I know there's some folks over there don't want to see those tennis courts go, nothing really netted the community anything that would help field space. And so pretty quickly with the board, we realized this is kind of a no-net game. Again, Rob said we'd spent money on dugouts over there. And so we kind of considered it, but scrapped it because it was not helpful.
Do you know if they had considered a half basketball court or anything of that? I know you're referring to field space right now.
Sure.
Do you know if that was looked into or considered at all?
I think we have a basketball court coming online, right? So we heard that we wanted basketball space.
Well, what we will say is there is a new basketball court for anyone who doesn't know that was CPA funded that will be up by literally right here, right outside of town hall. So that court is really run down, but that's been fully funded. And when will that be up and running again? Not sure, but I think like the funding usually hits, CPA funding usually hits July 1st, so we should be working on it soon, right?
Awesome. Is that a full court or a half court?
Full court.
Full court.
Yeah.
So we will be getting new courts in right here.
Is that a place in the community that makes sense? Is there somewhere else in the community you were looking for a court? Just out of curiosity.
I know that at the focus group meeting last month that there was discussion about Kelly Field being considered for at least a half court.
We have heard that a bit. I think this one will definitely help, but I think that's a good comment.
I'm not getting lost right here.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that's
you are pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not too far away,
Mhm.
but I think that'll be a great amenity for the town.
Rob, back to Kelly Field, where's the red house on this?
So it's covering
To the left of the
it's
playground.
covering this, yeah, it's here, right?
No, it's right here.
Oh, it's right here, yeah, it's right here, sorry, yeah.
What is that currently being used for?
Storage.
That
Storage.
is all storage for our programs.
So, do I see any use of the land around the red house? Is it too much, is that what I see?
We looked at availability over there. What would fit there is pretty limited because of the topography. If you look to the Brook Road side of that, there's a pretty steep drop there, and so like fitting much in that area would be tough. So we thought like passive recreation facilities that maybe we could stage, like a bocce ball court would be a good opportunity if there's something else that the Parks Committee thought, but it's not good for field space. It's not even good for I don't think it would fit a basketball court, if I'm being honest with you. So is there an amenity that you'd like to see over there?
No, I mean, I think the red house I used to work in that park, I just think the red house looks very tough. And I think a lot of the land around the red house seems to be wasted.
What about like a community like gathering space, like space for seating, even just like games, like cornhole or like giant four squares or stuff like, for I know there's a lot of games and stuff going on within Kelly Field, but something for for people to do that might be waiting for their kids at like practice or like, maybe to do with younger siblings. I know the park is there, but.
Can I ask, is that red house historic?
I don't
know.
I to say it's like, is it on the National Registry of Historic? No, no.
If you lost that building, would that give you more room to do things, and would you have somewhere else to store things?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I think, just looking back at the study, Judy, if we're really looking for big multi-purpose fields. So I think the answer is no. Like, we're gonna end up spending a lot of money tearing down like storage facilities and such, and while we might be able to improve the space, it's not gonna net us out a brand new multi-purpose field.
I think that space is good to look at though for some of the
It is.
passive.
Yes.
You had mentioned a couple of things. One was Foursquare, half basketball court or something else I thought you came up with for that area. I just wanna make sure.
Like community.
Like community, like gathering space,
When you
like space
see
for-
that, do you think of like stage seating maybe in that hillside with something on the lower side? I don't know, like, is that a good spot for a community event like that, or is that a bad spot for something like that?
I think right now, I don't think anyone really utilizes it. It's just kind of, it's just kind of there, right? And
Yeah,
we could.
the police use it after the 4th of July.
I mean, to be honest, one of the pieces that came up potentially was like fitness courts. We knew that came before the Parks Commission board, and we were looking at potential places. That might be a spot for something like that. I bet you that might fit there,
Certainly
Ryan.
you could size it to fit
You
there,
could
right?
size it to fit there. I think you'll see in a minute that like where we're getting to is obviously improvements to one park in town. But I think instead of like, it's two ways to look at things for like a fitness court, is one is like you can put it all in one spot. Or if you've been to parks where you've been around a walking path, you have stations and fitness stations. So that's kind of something that we're looking at, but we know, I think some folks at the Board of Health came to us and were looking for potential spots in town to look for a fitness court.
Just one last thing.
Sure.
The playground used to be over there.
Still there. There's a playground there.
Well,
Next to the Red House.
It's been moved over
Yeah.
more.
To the other side of the Red House, right?
To be honest, I wish we'd done this master plan before we did the playground, because it probably wasn't the best spot for a playground. But,
I mean, it was moved because it was isolated over there.
I could see that.
People
Right.
just wanted to be closer
right,
to the.
That was kind of, in my thought, the reason why you don't see much development over there, as I was trying not to draw kids to the corner behind the Red House, and like more of an adult crowd probably serves that space better than, it's just kind of hidden. When you walk out there, it feels like you're kind of isolated from folks, so I don't disagree with that decision made by the board.
Another potential for that would be like covered picnic tables, like a gathering.
Shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done like a community picnic with all the elementary schools in that space, and we all brought like pop-up tents and stuff, so it was, if there was something there, it could be rented, so potential revenue stream for the town.
Yeah, to do like
You could have
birthday
concerts
parties
there
or like
too,
different
you know?
events,
You
like-
can have a music there too. We
You're
got
close to
some
the
band-
butters, that's what I asked, kind of see what people thought, like you're
Yeah.
pretty close to houses there.
you're close,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're right on top of them.
It's a plus and minus, because
It's a
people can
plus and
easily
minus.
get to the field,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of housing over there, so it's a easy accessible spot.
Yeah.
But obviously wanna be sensitive to the neighbors too.
I would just say that, I don't think that area is a dead zone. I see people using it. People gather every morning there. I go there. I don't think I think it's passive recreation.
Yeah,
And I think people do use it, especially in the morning every day.
Yeah.
So I would just caution not to assume it's dead space.
good point.
For the people that do use it, are they like runners and they meet there, or is that just like a quiet hangout spot? What's
They bring their
happening?
dog, like, do people bring their
Dogs.
dogs? People bring their dogs there.
And I think that's one of the things as a community we need to talk about, because the dogs being on the playing fields
Is a huge
is
issue.
an issue.
Well, this is
That would be there.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so,
smaller part.
as we're looking at these parks, do we kind of have a designated dog area? You know, is that something as a community we think is important? That's certainly something we've kind of chatted about.
And actually, so in the beginning, one of the things you listed from your findings that people wanted a dog park, but then when I saw on your list of things to consider, it wasn't on there. So I'm wondering why it fell off, if
I
having a space for dogs is so important.
think there's been some hesitancy, cause I'm not sure the town actually knows whether it wants dog parks in a park or wants a dedicated space for dog parks because of the conflict with dogs and kids. So I've noted that the community wants a dog park. I'm just not sure if that fits into like the recreational master plan or if that fits into an open space and rec plan. Does that make sense? There's an open space and rec plan currently going on in the community that talks more about like the wide open natural spaces that may better suit a place for a dog park rather than a place where kids are playing often. And that's a community decision that obviously Time Bond doesn't wanna make, but if the community came up with how they wanted to handle that, we could, try and find a spot for it.
I think it's a whole conversation, cause as Carolyn mentioned, I think one of the big issues with our playing surfaces is not only are they over-programmed, and I would say we're lucky, there's no way, we're way over the 200 hours on these fields because of the uses that we're putting on them. But it is the excess dogs. If dogs are on there, they're oftentimes digging for the irrigation lines, and so that just causes problems, as we go through for some of our natural grass fields. So I would love to see spots in our town personally. Listen, I'm a dog owner, I've got 3 dogs, so I think, it's important that we take care of our dogs, but I think it's a good thing to have like designated areas so that there's a spot for it and they're not necessarily ruining playing fields either.
So I would just add that if at this juncture, this body is saying, well, that's not our thing, that's for someone else, and you want the fields, once they're eventually renovated and beautiful, and the dog thing still hasn't been addressed, I think it behooves this group to put it into the plan now, even though you might not think that, oh, this isn't our thing. One of the biggest complaints is dogs on the playing field.
Right.
And Lord knows I spend half my time picking up other people's
Yeah.
stuff, cause I don't know why a teeny percentage of dog owners makes all the other dog owners look badly. So I'm very sensitive to this, but I do think that it behooves this group to really not just say, oh, that's not our thing, because it actually is a major thing for field quality. So just putting it out there, not sure how you would incorporate that, but to not just say, well, that's for someone else at another time.
I think in a final draft of a report, we can definitely include it. It would be included in our final draft of report, but we may not designate the areas in a plan yet. I don't know, we would have to think about that.
Can I ask, do you see that experience as a dog owner, pathways along the perimeter of an athletic field, or do you see that as a dedicated dog enclosure that has the double gates to let your dogs in and out and let them off leash in an area? How do you see that area?
Sorry, what was the very beginning of the question?
The first part of the question is two options on how you may have a space for dogs within parks. You could have like a perimeter walking path that you're walking your dog along, and you're just keeping the dog off the athletic fields, it's just a walking path along the outside of the field, or on a leash. Or do you see a dedicated space where you can let the dog off leash inside gates?
Okay, I don't wanna speak for all dog owners,
Sure.
but I think D, all of the above, I think that every dog is different, every owner is different, and you're gonna need a lot of variety. But I do think at minimum, we do need a gated area or a separate place to walk. I think it's, not to be annoying, but I do think it's everything. But yes, I
No, I
mean,
understand.
for starters, and I've been eyeing that little spot of land at the corner of Lincoln and Brook. It was like a huge, and if you could, it wouldn't, I know the Lincoln Street folks might be upset with that suggestion, but it is like one of those spots that's sort of out of the way, but anyway.
Kevin,
I guess one question would be, like, at least back to you, Ryan, is like the maintenance of those parks, like, you know, is like, what does it take? You know, our parks department and consolidated facilities is only so big, so what does it take to maintain that? You know, that would be my question back to you.
There's an effort there, for sure. And it's depending on how much the dog owners do. There's certainly less maintenance options over others. Like, I don't really like this, there's a turf option for that, and I don't think that's a great option for them. I prefer, out of all the ones that we have done, a stone dust option seems to be the easiest, cause you can keep a pile of stone dust close by. If your dog digs something up, it's easier to mend, you don't have to like have a sophisticated maintenance crew to take care of it. That seems to be the most durable of all the versions and the most easiest to clean up, whatever they need to clean up.
Which department do you guys think should be responsible to take that on?
Depends where it is.
I'll ask Kevin.
Yeah, I'd love to maintain it. Yeah. It depends where you locate it. If it's in a park, obviously the park department would take care of it. About 10 years ago, that spot that you're talking about was proposed dog park, and the neighbors absolutely did not want it. Maybe it was even longer, I was a commissioner at the time. But they were completely opposed to it.
I did see that.
I guess one of the flip things, because I have dogs and we walk them all over Milton, what I would say is there's a lot of great dog amenities in Milton, one of them being Cunningham Park. Like, that's a great opportunity for dog owners to go off leash and walk dogs.
But
So-
nobody
That's
else
all the
can
way on
go
the
there.
east side.
True,
Nobody else can go there.
no, I mean, you can go there,
Can't-
Judy, you can go there if you
I
want.
can't go there with a stroller and little kids.
Right.
And is that?
Right, and that's where it
Yeah.
gets complicated.
That's where it gets
That's where it
complicated.
gets complicated. With that, I learned as we were doing this whole process is when you have a playground and you have these playing fields, do we necessarily wanna have dogs, that's dedicated dog space right there too? And so that's kind of the conversation that needs to be had, I think, amongst the community is, is exactly that, is.
Kevin, I'm not wrong in saying there's currently no town law about dogs in the
They
town
gotta
park.
be leashed.
Yeah,
If
gotta
they're
be
in a
leashed.
park, they gotta
Have
be
to be
leashed. Now, how many people actually do that?
That's not really enforced.
Not a lot.
No, no,
Money aside, and obviously that's reality. Like this surprised me a little bit, just because it feels like one of the very few large parcels of land Parks owns. Like if this was a blank slate of just grass and field, we wouldn't develop it different than what we have on the screen here. Like start completely from
That's a
scratch.
fair question.
Just from a long-term standpoint, right? One of the bullet points is acquire land, find a parcel.
Could you realign this to add additional field space? Yes, but then you'd need to find and spend a lot of money replacing the amenities you tear out to do so. And so
Right, but buying a piece of land that's not available. Right, that's no longer an option.
Right.
Again, money aside is moving first comment, because
Yeah.
to your point, right, it would be just wasting money on it if we do that. There's no other piece of land, now, this has its own issue, there's a lot of housing that's kind of
Yep.
around it. So certain things wouldn't work, but it just feels like that large piece of land. Parking lot could go this way, like it just feels like it could be used differently if we were starting from scratch.
I think your
That's not happening in the short term, but from a long-term play,
your net, I think, is +1 field if I reset the whole thing.
Maybe. But remember, you also have parking, so I don't know, looking at this, I just don't think you get it. I don't, maybe if you redid the whole thing, we might be able to get it, but then you'd have a big parking issue, I would think.
Yeah.
But I think you would be starting from scratch and it would be tough.
street parking, there's that Lincoln parking lot, I just think to be creative with it in the long term, because again, we don't own pieces of land that size.
Well, we're getting there, so.
We'll talk about how we're getting close to meeting it, there's certain some things we need to do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
I play at Kelly Field, play pickleball 3 times a week. I see dog owners walking their dogs off leash, pooping in the grass, not picking it up, okay? That's a concern with a lot of major areas around here, not just Milton. This is a nationwide problem. It was on the news tonight. So what are you gonna do about having people making sure that they pick up their crap on the ground? Do you fine them? Do you have somebody say something to them? I don't wanna be that person necessarily, they, but they're off leash. They walk around, they throw balls, whatever the case may be, but they poop on the ground, and people sometimes don't pick them up. So,
I would say I'm not enforcement, I would.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin is the one who's had to deal with that more than anybody else
We have
here,
signage.
You
Tried.
can't change stupid or.
they've tried
Yeah,
everything,
exactly.
I mean, Kevin
You
even
can't
said,
Right.
you know, they put a
Even
station for dog bags
dog bags and stuff.
kids lit it on fire.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Let's not-
it's, yeah, it's an issue.
Yeah.
It's how do you solve the issue?
Yeah.
I think that's to the point, if you had a dedicated space for that off leash, that
right,
conversation for Kevin goes a lot easier, like, right now it's, hey, you can't do that here, where? And then we don't have a response for that, but if you had a dedicated space for off leash, say, hey, that needs to be done over here at such and such a park.
or not at a park, or on Lincoln Street, which is not a park, it's not being used for anything. It could be a space for dog owners to be designated, and then let them walk there.
It's Lincoln Street.
I mean, it's not that big,
Yeah,
but
so
it's,
it's literally right up there, that
I mean-
right-hand corner,
Way to the right.
right
Right
there, right,
outside.
so,
Come down,
yeah, it's right here, it's literally right here.
Oh, okay, good. The mouse up there is way delayed from here,
It's a
guys, sorry.
memorial.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a big memorial stone there.
Yeah.
I have a question
Cascade
about
Park.
Access Road.
Mhm.
What is owned by the town up there? I mean, you said it was wet, I know it is wet,
But he's got it up right now,
Access Road.
yeah.
So that,
They could put a dog park up there easily, I think.
It's really sloped.
It's slow.
It's really sloped and you've got it's the old town dump, so literally
I remember the sign.
So I think what it would take is, to get, to clean it up
Yeah.
would be funding to do that,
Yeah.
and it would be expensive to do it. I'm not saying that we couldn't do it, you could do it, and clean it up, but it would just be excess money. There's probably state money to go potentially do that. So I think that's what we would wanna do. For fields and such, it's not going to,
I think
It's
the
gonna be
piece
hard.
about the dogs is people wanna bring the dogs to
To
the
the
park
park.
that's closest to them.
right?
They don't wanna get in the
The
car.
same people doing what they do now are still gonna do it.
Yeah, they're still gonna do it, it's not gonna solve the problem, they're not gonna go, listen, I live all the way on the west side of town. We'll go to Cunningham every once in a while, cause a bunch of dog owners go over there, but it's way over there, right? So, I think it's whatever's convenient to them, and if it's a park, they're still gonna bring their dogs there no matter what.
Yeah.
And the thing that we've been wrestling with too is do we fence every multi-purpose field in town? I think people may have an issue with that, because now we're fencing it. If we don't provide another place for people to bring their dogs, or there's not a spot on the fields to do that, that could be.
That's one of the solutions to prevent dogs from going on the fields, is to fence dedicated
It's too-
spaces.
Twofold though, right? You have to fence it and you have to lock it.
Yes.
And when you lock it, now the kid that gets a group of kids together and wants to go play out in the field
Then you're
has no
limiting
access to the field, and you cut the community off from the park. I've seen communities do that. And they start out by locking it, and then they realize, oh my goodness, I've cut the kids from playing on the field.
Right.
I think for everyone, I wanna be clear, I think we all hear you around the dogs. I want Ryan to continue in his presentation in the interest of time, because we're not gonna solve the dog issue tonight.
Yeah.
I think let's all agree to that, and let him go through his presentation so we can answer questions after that is done as well.
I'll just quickly say, I think we need a dog park study committee.
Yeah.
And
We may.
the reason I asked what department would be responsible is I think somebody needs to take it on, and I'm not sure who that would be. So just food for thought.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Access Road. Access Road was an undeveloped parcel of land.
So are we on Randolph Ave here?
Yes.
Randolph Ave is north and south, 28. Access Road is right here for those of you that can see my cursor. The town-owned parcel I've marked in red. The key points here is that this parcel has a high point elevation of 160, and the access point down by the road is something like 93. So you've got about 70 feet of elevation change across the parcel. In addition to the 70 feet of elevation change across the parcel, you've got a significant wetlands complex that prohibits your access from Access Road and from Randolph Ave. Your high ground and your drier ground is gonna be in this area up here. That's for the people that can see my cursor. But on the western side of the property, and when the main portion of this study was trying to figure out how do we meet the needs of the recreation group, and there's really just no ability here to provide any flat surface that would be whether it be fields, courts, or anything like that. It's really, really sloped. I don't wanna say there's no possibility. It would be very expensive to provide those facilities here, to flatten this.
And just to make a note that, listen, I'm a town meeting member. We voted, some of us remember the town land swap. This was the land that was swapped for the Parks Recreation for the land that was at the high school, which was a beautiful lot that was very developable. Very flat and very developable for a park. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go through. This study was easily pointed out to say, hey, let's look at this. It's very expensive to develop, and basically we just couldn't do it because of the wetland. It's just not possible.
I didn't understand what you said. You said this area got swapped out with another area at the high school?
Yeah, so a few years back for the new school that is in the works right now, in order to get that land over for where the new school is, there was a bunch of land that was traded out to get that land, and
It's
part of that
conservation land.
it was conservation land.
The land on the new school is conservation land. So rather than just taking away conservation land, they said, all right, let's find conservation. let's make another piece of land conservation, and they're taking out that school property from the designation of conservation land to build on.
And an important thing, it will be in a second, is that if you wanna trade conservation land these days for any other land, the state looks at it as like they want almost 3 times the amount of land for one piece of land. So in that, I don't remember the acreage now, but it was over 3 times, maybe 4 times the land. But it doesn't mean it's the quality of land, right? So we'll here's one piece of land, here's another piece of land. If we can't use it for something, then we have some issue.
The next or the final 2 sites we're gonna look at are Andrews Park and Flatley Field. And these were the opportunities that we saw the most opportunity for improvement to meet the needs of the community, whether that be some of the amenities we talked about, or improving field space, or providing passive recreation. These 2 facilities had the most opportunity for advancing some of the community desires. And so this is Andrews Park. The proposed implementations here are to improve the natural turf multipurpose rectangular field that's in the center of the park. That means adding under drainage to it, updating the loam. As Rob had mentioned, that's already in front of the CPA for that project. Additionally, we wanted to see amenities improved at both the 60-foot baseball diamond and the 60-foot softball diamond. The biggest, I wanna say, improvement over what's there today is to add parking. The community, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got from the community about Andrews Park is there's not enough parking there to allow the community to use the facility. And so we've shown opportunities for parking. I don't think that's we just tried to show how much parking you could get in there. I think that will probably be phased back. I will say we've kept only one entrance to that parking. The other areas where you see pavement kind of coming in and out of the park that would be new, those are more walkways to provide accessibility to the park rather than vehicular accessibility. We also added a walking path around the outside of the multipurpose rectangular field. I don't know that it has to necessarily follow exactly the multipurpose rectangular field, but that walking path provides us a great opportunity to provide a fitness course with stations around the outside of it. And so we see this as a good place for the fitness course, with a lot of community surrounding it. Good opportunity for people to walk there and use the fitness course, and provides kind of a park that serves everybody on that side of the community. It's got playgrounds, it's got tennis courts, it's got basketball courts, it's got athletic field space, and then the fitness course, so everyone can kind of be involved there.
Steven, remind me where your 50 to 70 field is going? Is that at Mary C?
Proposed at Mary C.
Proposed at Mary C.
Question?
A couple years ago, in one of our studies with pickleball was to go to neighbors and get feedback, and we did, me and another gentleman walked around and got feedback from the neighbors stating that he didn't want pickleball courts. And the reason was that there was no parking. There's a tennis court there or whatever, only one, I believe, or two. But there's access for pickleball courts if Kelly Field doesn't work out. That's another area that we had talked about between us of where to go or what to do if there was parking and there was pickleball courts. And it would be away from the neighbors because they complained about the noise, okay? That's a complaint of a lot of people.
Sure, yeah.
Braintree included.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we got a great option for you coming up here of an opportunity for pickleball. And I was on the CPC when we funded your study and everything, so I absolutely remember. I think this park is an issue because of the noise. There's neighbors that are really close to this park. So I could absolutely see their concern of putting pickleball here.
But Flatley Field, okay, would take 3 years to build, okay, at least, because you're gonna have to take up everything around there. And maybe we don't wanna wait that long, okay? Kelly Field, resurface the tennis courts, put nets there, and the neighbors know we make noise, because we play there 3 times a week. So why can't we go forward with that plan? We have numbers and everything accessible to you guys.
So the request there would be, rather than waiting for more court space, is just to resurface stuff you already have and make it a little bit more playable for pickleball, is that the?
No, and they'll build courts that the town would have,
Add
people
on
in
to
the
it,
town would
Add
have.
on.
Add on to it.
Like we were looking at
Yeah.
earlier.
because those are used by the high school.
Yeah.
The tennis courts.
And they would have new courts to play on, with the grass not coming up from the concrete. So,
My advice would be is, listen, if there's room there and you can do it, you got an opportunity in town with the CPA. You've come once before to them, like, come again. Like, the committee's always open. Like, if you're looking for funded and stuff, then come before the committee, put an eligibility application in with your, proposal. I think it's, that's an opportunity to look at.
The only thing else from what we looked at earlier today, try and find a space that doesn't affect one of the other users there, right? That, one of those things we looked at, conflicts with the baseball field, so see if there's a way to shift and make yourself out of the play of the baseball field.
well,
Another,
we have drawings where it's not close to the baseball field, on the other side of the tennis courts where the big pine tree is, you can fit 4 courts in, okay? That would not disturb the baseball team, that would not disturb the tennis team that plays there, okay?
so I have a question for the pickleballers was there any conversation about Cunningham potentially? So at Cunningham Park, I thought there was some discussion about whether to put it there.
That was 3 years ago, they would only build 2 courts there. That was 3 years ago when we did this original study.
Okay.
This is 2026, and a lot of people play in this town.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah, it's very popular.
And you're trying to get 4 in one spot, right?
Yeah, at least.
Our ambition is to use the existing Kelly Field tennis courts. Hoping that the town can add on the right side near the playground enough space to create another tennis court. So we would use one of the tennis courts to put in there 4 permanent pickleball courts, which is done. I mean, the all-round distance of a tennis court is 60 by 120, and in that you could put 4 permanent pickleball courts. And if you need to put additional pickleball courts, you can use the tennis court, just put the lines on, as we're doing it now.
Yeah.
The other issue with it, that will require a rehabilitation of the field. I mean, right now we have a concrete floor which is coming out, it's broken. I mean, it's useful, but it's a problem for us, the older people. We play on a surface which is hard, it's difficult. If you rehab that and make it a proper pickleball court with a softer field, it will be an improvement.
Yeah.
You want a cushioned surface is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So you guys haven't discussed Ulan yet? The rink.
No.
So have you, because that's part of the rec plan, because our kids play like hockey right through. So is there a way to expand Ulan somehow?
Just quickly interrupt, we don't own you, it's DCR, it's DCR property.
DCR
I
land,
understand that.
Yeah.
You don't also own Cunningham either.
we don't,
Flatley,
Right.
So you looked at that. However, but to the pickleballers, look, back in the day when my daughter and son played hockey, we went to Hyannis a lot, and they had a great indoor rink, and they had courts, and they had a suspended track. And so I'm wondering if we could partner with DCR had 7 Brush Hill, wanted a long-term lease. But if you go by Ulan during the summertime, which I'm always by there, there's nobody in the parking lot. They resurfaced it a couple of years ago and it's not there. So is there an opportunity to partner with DCR short term to use their parking lot during these
Didn't they
months?
also, I'm not a pickleball player, but didn't they also have like a pickleball tournament inside the facility
Yes, yes.
recently?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not
Guys
sure, again, I don't do
have any
pickleball, so I'm not
pickleball
sure
anymore.
if people like to be
Yeah,
outside
once.
or inside.
But if you know the thing about this, you should. Come and play, I'll teach you.
Okay, great. I have plenty of time, I have plenty of
I
time.
don't think it is being utilized as much as it should be, I think, so I don't, is it an opportunity to look there? Also, the other recreational sports that you guys haven't discussed is skiing, you know, my kids are skiers. And, so we used, obviously Blue Hill for the ski team. So again, during the summer, there's not a lot going on, just hikers and bikers. So is there any opportunity there to expand some programming? And also, the Egan Center, you know, the swimming, and if you go to the Boy Scout camp, they've got an incredible amphitheater up at the Boy Scout camp. So I feel like if we're looking at partnering with private organizations, you know, why aren't we looking further and expanding that view? The other lot of land I don't think you looked at was the basketball court on, isn't that Truman Parkway?
Russell Road.
Russell Road.
Yeah.
So that has been in great disrepair
Yeah.
forever, as long as I can remember. So, you know, if we're focusing on kind of the west side of town, why aren't we focusing on that? Doesn't the park department own that over there?
Brush Hill Road, there's one parcel there.
Yeah.
Truman Highway,
Yeah.
with those basketball courts, is Boston property. It's not,
Yes, the basketball courts is Boston property, but there is a parcel that's down closer to, as you get to Mattapan, that's really close to the river. So that would take a lot of development to develop that into pickleball court. I think your point's a good one. Like, I think we're looking at all these opportunities. What I will say is our planning study was really focused on town land that we own and control. And then from our feedback from a lot of sports groups is it's been very difficult for some of these private partnerships. Whereas like just recently, we've had good luck with Milton Academy. They've been a good partner in the last few years with Kevin to get some of our programming over there. But to be honest, like straight up, DCR has been very difficult to deal with for a lot of our sports teams. We haven't been able to like put like storage pieces, and so that's very difficult to be able to play sports there when we have to basically bring everything. For instance, soccer, if we want to play soccer there, we can't bring our own nets there, right? And so that's a challenge. So just some of the feedback on like private pieces.
And instead of like Milton Academy, they don't pay, in my opinion, as much in their pilot programs as they should. But when they redo their fields, so they redid their fields, you know, down on Bozos a few years ago, perhaps we should partner with them, and instead of them giving a pilot program, maybe they should come in and renovate our fields. So they're already having the contractor there. Why not just say to one of our fields,
Lisa, are you trying to say something on the teams? Since she's accidentally muted herself, we're trying to say something.
Probably. Should we mute her? So I think this is a great conversation. What I would like to do, because I know the pickleballers are in the room and you guys are obviously very adamant about this. What I would also say is we meet monthly, the Parks Department does. Our door's always open. So I would say is come back and meet with me. You know I'm an architect as well, so I'm happy to look at stuff with you and figure this out and see what other opportunities there is in town. So. Yeah.
So that's what we considered at Andrews Park. The next park is Flatley Field.
Andrews is in East Milton, right, like behind
Yeah.
the fruit bath?
Flatley Field was a largely open field with not much way in the development. Some of the feedback we got from this facility was that the natural turf had been beaten up pretty good and was in need of repair. There's not a lot of parking opportunities, and the parking that is there has traffic concerns. There's not other amenities, so if a younger sibling comes with a family, there's nothing there for them to do. And so there was opportunities there for kind of a lot of improvement. Let me make sure I don't
do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, right.
Sorry, guys. So what we looked at is what could we do on Flatley that would be a complete reconstruction of the field? How do we add parking? And what we came up with is a 60-space pervious parking lot with one synthetic turf field with athletic lights, 2 smaller youth-sized natural turf fields that could play a bunch of youth-sized sports, whether that be lacrosse or soccer. We've added 2 pickleball courts. We've also added a youth playground which has play structures that range from 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. Pretty consistent breakdown. We've also added a trail network that helps get access to all the facilities while being cognizant of that existing outer walking path to the facility. This would provide.
Could there be 2 next to?
Could you put 4 courts in?
It's very possible, yes.
Yes.
I would say,
Cause that's what they're looking for 4.
I've had it both spots, so the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I think one thing that we're just gonna wanna be cognizant of, I keep referencing this park because my daughter plays soccer. And I love this one park, it's called Kincaid in Quincy, if anyone knows that one. It's a great reference of a park because it's got, not only does it have synthetic turf, but it has very natural landscaping around it as well. It's got a track, it's got basketball, it's got fitness courts on every single piece of the path. So that park is it's just a really good reference. So I think we want to be careful of how much we balance out recreation activities with some of the natural landscape as well, which is there. So that's really what we were focusing on with this park specifically, with still having some natural, like having a lot of the park be natural and then some be synthetic as well.
Now, to go back to the original conversation we started, our recommendation to the town was that they needed 3 to 4 multi-purpose rectangular fields and 2 to 3 60-foot baseball diamonds. The town currently has a project out there that's taken a long time to go through, or is still in the process of going through, but there's a potential for synthetic turf field at Lower Guile Field. That would be a +2 field in inventory for the community. And if we converted one field at Flatley from natural turf to synthetic turf, that's another +2. And so that's a way for the community to get +4 fields in their inventory and at least meet what we think is the need for multi-purpose rectangular fields. The thing we've not been able to address through this study is where we could add additional softball, baseball diamonds. One of the things we've gotten that was not having the ability to practice as much for those teams as well. You'll remember that I showed you an opportunity at Pierce Middle School. Maybe there's an opportunity there where if we were able to add plus inventory on the rectangular fields, the community down the road may consider, do we convert Pierce over? It was only half a flag football team anyway. If we've got 2 rectangular fields and that works, maybe there's an opportunity to convert Pierce at some time.
What I will say with, just to address baseball and softball, I was on the softball board for a while. Steve's been here, he's been representing baseball for a while. What I will say is the softball, we've got a number of things. We got a dugout at Kelly. We also are putting in this. When is that going to be? Like pretty soon, right? There's going to be a new, basically a new batting cage, pitching cage at Geo, and there's potential plans for a phase 2 around Geo Field, which is our softball field at the high school. So that's in place. And then Stephen also has a application in to create from a 50 diamond to a 70 diamond. That's like basically that can convert that field. So that was a part of this master plan too.
And you're making improvements to Andrews Park, right?
And we're making improvements to Andrews Park. So it's not only just like, new fields and what we can look at, but it's also, representing what can we make improvements of what we currently have as well.
How long would it take to reconvene Flat Lake Field versus Kelly Okay, that's one question. And how much would it cost us as taxpayers? Or is this money coming from the state? Or where's the money coming from?
Yeah,
We haven't identified that yet.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's important to note that these are all, proposals, none of which are funded.
Yeah,
at this point.
exactly. None are currently.
None are funded at this point, so, there's gonna be at minimum a time horizon, even if everyone were in agreement
Right.
with what to do.
As you know, government works really fast, right?
Yeah,
So-
right.
So,
Especially Trump.
yeah. So we gotta crawl before we can walk, right? I think, I've always been a big proponent of good planning, so we're there. We're trying to find good planning and then funding. There's lots of ways to fund things too, so we gotta look into that. As a part of this study, Ryan also will include some budgetary numbers for our commission to look at, so that we can bite off some of these things. I already mentioned the CPA is a great source for some recreational funding. So that's one good community service source. There's also state grants. So one other thing that we need to do in town is to create our open space and rec committee. We gotta finish that report, because then that unlocks state funding. So that's also another avenue that we need to unlock.
Have you guys consulted USTA to see if they have any pickleball funding opportunities?
No.
No, I know they do tennis courts, so just give it a look and see if there's any funding out there for USTA.
USPA or
TA, United States Tennis Association. They definitely fund tennis courts, so I don't know if there's an opportunity for pickleball.
Who owns this land? Flatley. Who owns Flatley?
Who owns Flatley? The town, it's town property.
Did you say the open space and rec plan is separate from like the findings from here?
Yeah, so there's like two, basically this is a recreational plan, and the other one is more of an inventory plan. I know Meredith and Maggie are here, so maybe you could speak to that. It's a little bit different. I had met the consultant, Horsley Witten, before we went into this, and before we went into this planning, and they basically gave us advice that we should do a separate recreational master plan, because they weren't gonna get into the detail and depth of the study.
I was holding my comments for the chair at the end. Should I continue to do that?
I think we're there. I think we're there.
Okay,
I think we're there, right? Is that it?
I was just gonna.
I think we're there, so we're open, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would obviously like to, I'm here for pickleball, and I realize this is a bigger picture than pickleball, But we'd also like to be part of the master plan. We don't wanna be off on our own, And I looked at a study done in 2023, and I also apologize too, because I feel like we should have been here with you sooner than today, but
No, it's fine.
But
Hey,
anyway,
you're here.
They had, in Kelly Field, where we play now, there were several different options for adding pickleball courts on either side. I even went down there with my tape measure and measured it all out, and we could easily fit 4 courts beside those tennis courts, and we could even, because I spoke to these gentlemen, the neighbors where we play now are already used to the noise. So if we can keep our pickleball courts on that end, then the noise is it with us, right?
Yeah, the noise.
So one of the things I was thinking of is we slide the tennis courts down, put the pickleball courts right where they are now. The tennis people get new resurfaced tennis courts. We don't encroach any further into the, than we do now. You did mention that earlier on that end, it comes out a little further towards the fields. I don't know what
We were looking at one option.
We gotta look at it, but anyway, and then we could continue to use the tennis courts with temporary markings for us that aren't being used most of the time. So we could easily get 3 courts plus. We could get, if we needed to cut it back to not impact the field, we could get 3 permanent courts and then temporaries,
So I appreciate your, and that's why you're here now. And we said listen, this is like a final draft. Ryan can go back and plug, this is what he does on a basis, so he can look at that.
There's
He can
no
say,
reason
okay, how do we get in?
I have the plan right here.
There's no reason, John, we can't consider Kelly Field, given everything that you just suggested. Obviously, there's no funding at this point,
Right.
et
no funding for
cetera.
anything.
No,
I know,
right.
I understand, but there's no reason from a planning standpoint, we
standpoint,
can't discuss that and
Right.
consider that. And I
Yeah.
think for all the reasons that you've discussed, I think that's heard for sure.
Yeah,
What if we just can get it into this
course.
program, you know?
I mean, to
Can
the,
you go back and look at Kelly Field for a second?
yeah, sure, and to the same point, right, when we look at this, I think when we make some decisions like this, maybe 2 pickleball courts here aren't good, like at Flatley, and maybe they're better at Kelly and they serve the group better there. That's some of the decision making that needs to happen. The one really great amenity about Flatley Field is there's not a ton of abutters around that field.
I heard that.
So that is a huge benefit for anything that we're trying to
It's not
place.
showing the tennis courts.
I know, I feel bad, I should have brought
I
it
have a
up.
rendition here if you wanna see it.
I went over to Dr. John during while we were waiting. I think there's certainly an opportunity there to make that work, and
We probably should pull up like a Google map that's actually the Kelly Field, because this one is not.
But Rob, Kevin has,
Okay.
it makes sense to look,
Was
to look at it.
that study from Bill Madden?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And they had put pickleball courts at both ends of the
Yeah.
3 tennis.
So whoever's part of the pickleball, could you, because like the commissioners, I don't think I might have seen it at one point. I think it would be very helpful to send us that study, or if Kevin has
I have
it,
it.
if you have it, then maybe he'll just share it with us.
Before I leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the bigger thing is to provide it to Ryan. So what you're suggesting basically is to divide them up and then reposition them.
Just taking these 3 slides
If
down.
you shift them over
Oh, I
60,
see.
if you shift them to the left there 60 feet, they won't impact those trees. And then we could fit 60 feet by the 120 feet.
You're not cutting down trees, right?
Huh?
You're not cutting down trees, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, good.
I know what,
I-
no trees.
No cutting down
No
trees.
No trees, we might have to leaf blow a lot of pine.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, and I don't know, it just seems quick and easy,
Yeah.
quick and easy.
Where my hand is, what's there?
No,
Is it flat?
but I think they're talking.
I saw his plan, they're over here.
Just to give you a general sense of like
We
funding,
wouldn't go to the right.
this
We don't wanna go to the
basketball
right.
court
You can't
that
go to the
we
right.
just redid over here,
You're short.
it went out originally, I wanna say it was like 70K or something, it's probably about 100K at least.
But regardless, you
To do
your
some of this.
additional square footage will come to the
Yeah,
left.
yeah,
There are a lot of
You're not- you're-
conversations going.
you're not gonna go to the right.
I can't hear anybody. So, John Cohane, you're over here, these are the existing tennis courts, and you wanna just.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that we shift this 60 feet and we put 4 pickleball courts right here. And that's, they get a new, we'd have to do over the field for them.
Well, I think,
The shifting
I think we
is the
keep,
idea they
just
have
keep existing
and
and
we're gonna
resurface
put
what you have.
new,
Yeah.
I mean,
fields on the left side. Why don't we make those the new pickleball court?
But the reason
And
for,
leave those 3 tennis courts out there?
but the reason being is that these people are used to pickleball courts. These people are not.
I will tell you, your biggest challenge for doing something here is noise and neighbors. You have that, so what I would say is, you absolutely, like, listen, we're here to help you work through it, but you would definitely want to make sure that these abutters and stuff also know what's happening.
Most of the people are used to this.
Yeah, right.
what days are you playing pickleball and how do you join? It sounds like a lot of fun.
It's being called a passive sport too, I'm freaking
Excellent.
That's it, guys, so.
Anyway.
I think that's it. Does anyone else have conversations? Or anyone else have questions?
Yeah, just earlier when you broke out the number of fields, I'm with Milton Softball, by the way. It said we had 6 fields, 3 town, Cunningham Park, and then the 2 Holton's Field. Holton's
We don't
Field,
really use it much.
it's very restrictive,
Very
like, they put like You can't store, like Rob said
Yeah,
earlier.
can't store
You can't
stuff.
put bases there, you can't put equipment, so we hardly use it.
Right.
So I was just wondering, this is, we're open to suggestions. At Andrews, in the top right corner, that if you were looking, like the top, very top back corner, I don't know, cause it's soccer and lacrosse are different than in the spring.
Yep.
If we could carve out a softball field there,
And like play into the multi-purpose rectangular field as your
Yeah.
outfield.
and then
It's
also
gonna be,
at,
it's jammed.
I understand, but it's something we could look at,
Yeah.
right? If we could.
I think you have a
Or-
topography issue there, and you also have Gaelic football, it's gonna be fall, right? So that's not a conflict.
And then the other
That's
field too, I
That's right.
suggest is the deep right field at Geo, the middle field. So if you go all the way down the right field line, there's space there, because the baseball field is, I think it's American Legion or
Yeah.
Babe Ruth.
So-
And they don't seem to be playing in the spring, because in the spring it's
Yeah, do you know who uses it? Soccer. Soccer uses that field.
I never see them there.
They're there.
In the fall, they.
They're there. They
No, in
use
the
it.
fall, but
In the
we're there
fall,
in the
in
spring.
the spring, you have Milton High freshman team uses it in Babe Ruth.
I just,
Yeah,
suggestion.
Yeah, I think though, listen, I support baseball, baseball's huge in this town too. But one potential was like, do you go down to 2 Babe Ruth fields? Ryan said most towns, right, don't have 3 90-foot baseball fields. But one is private at Cunningham. So we were nervous to say, hey, listen, we wouldn't wanna give that up. So we said, let's leave that one where it is. That is a big amount of space. So that's kind of where we ended up settling on that one, just because Cunningham can do whatever they want, right? It's their field.
It's
right?
almost impossible if you lose a 90-foot
Field
diamond to get it back.
And to your point, Tommy, though, you theoretically could put a softball down the end for young kids and use it when Babe Ruth is not playing.
Right.
They do use it, but it's not 10 hours a day.
Right, like I just noticed unused space in town, which
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of.
Yeah.
Just if we could look at it, because we have over 400 girls in the program. And with 4 fields really, it's just tough.
It is.
Like they said earlier, practice is non-existent,
Right,
but we do it like, deep outfield,
right,
batting cages.
Right.
Try and steal nationals,
Right.
also.
Right. but I just wanna say, that is the problem in town, right? Everyone's got an interest, just like you guys have a huge interest for pickleball. Trust me, my daughter plays softball and we're huge softball people, but guess what? We have 1 field on all these parks. I would love if we had 4 fields, right? It would be great if we had 4 fields and we could do tournaments and everything else. We just don't have that in Milton. But we do have 3 fields and we'll continue to improve them. They're getting better. We've got the dugouts now and we'll continue to add and make the amenities better.
Or didn't we have back in the day, part of the agreement with Granite Lakes was, weren't we supposed to be allowed to use those fields over there?
You guys still use
And did we-
Yes,
did we-
that still exists, and those are still in use by both Little League programs as well, on a restricted basis though. It's not free use, I should say, it's not anytime we want, there's specific days.
Yeah, just anecdotally, I will say, and what we've heard too, is that programs in this town can't practice, as Tommy said, but there's field hockey programs in town. They literally just don't practice at all, they only play games, and to me, that's a huge issue, right? And so that's the reason why we did this study, is to really expand the use, so that we can keep kids interested in rec leagues too. Because one big trend these days too is that there's an equity issue too, because at the end of the day, kids will go out and they'll go to club because then they can go practice or whatever, right? And then we're not keeping them here in town for rec leagues.
Well, talking about children who wanted to play sports, I want to tell you that pickleball is gonna reach schools. And the schools are gonna need to fabricate more courts because the children are gonna be part of the curriculum for sports.
Yeah.
And that's happening in many
Yeah.
cities around the world.
My youngest daughter just went with my wife 2 days ago to play pickleball at West Rockford,
She
so
will be the one who's.
maybe she'll be the big pickleballer. Yeah.
Did we miss anybody else from questions? I wanna make sure.
I have a question, and thank you for doing this work.
Of course.
But there has been a recurrent issue on Milton, and when I look at the rooms and look at the work, is as part of your planning process, how do you include other voices? What are the voices that are not represented? What are the way that you really get, for example, I work for the state, so I work for the state for years, and then here I'm in the town, I've been here for 30 years. I don't know about this work. I wonder, is there a process by which you go to inform people about really what you do, so then there are more involvement, there will be more of us to be able to really know and understand the town is ours, and I think we could also take advantage of everything that's happening and I think we also really have it, specifically when you're looking at it on the other side, we're dealing with major issues, we're dealing with chronic diseases, we're dealing with, and then there is no space. There's really no space, and the voice are not there. So I'm trying to understand, is that a concern, and how do you create space when you do the planning, so then those voices? I'm amazed, that's me, not even a call. So that's really what I'm saying. So do you have a process by which there is a certain conversation about how to include those voices? And really, how do you really identify and connect it with people that might have the interest but not that really have the door open to them? Because quite frankly, if I didn't have an email from Lois Stillman, I would not be here.
Yeah.
So that has been an ongoing issue in Milton. So I am trying to say, okay, as part of the plan, what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to thank you for showing up. I think we've had 2 great community meetings and they've been in July. So for whatever reason, July was it. I will say is we'll try to reach a net as large as we can. I mean, some of the good things is we have really good people that are involved with our sports, so we brought them in. But there's plenty of other folks that are in town that are, representing passive sports. I talked about the fitness court people, they've come to us, so we try to include them in as much as we could. So
You've advertised the publicly.
we've advertised it publicly, we put it on social media, it's been in the Milton Times, it's been in, wasn't this in Milton?
This one wasn't.
This one wasn't, but it has in the
I
past,
didn't put it.
yeah, and so then I think,
It's a townwide email.
And there's a townwide email, I just put it on the town
yeah,
page.
so that went out, yeah.
I think communication just in general, at a government level.
Needs to be better.
Can be improved upon.
Can be
on all
improved
levels.
upon, 100%.
And that survey we did with the community did get 1,300 responses.
So that was,
that's a decent.
we were pretty happy with that, like 1,300 people responded, our town is 28,000, so yeah. But 1,300 responses was pretty good, we felt it was a pretty good, and that was a long process too.
I think we gave almost 2.5 months to.
2.5 months to respond to it, yeah.
I know in November, we recently held a forum to discuss the communication in Milton and kind of to understand, I know there was a survey that was done to understand where people were getting the majority of their information from, and I know the findings from that were that most of the communication that's happening within Milton is happening from word of mouth, and it's happening from whether or not you know someone who's directly connected, and people are sharing things in that way. And so I'm wondering if the information from that from both the survey that was conducted and all the findings that we had from the forum, if those are being implemented into how you're communicating with people about, the changes that are to come and ways in which you can get more engagement and more, a collective understanding of what everybody's needing and wanting to feel connected to the town and to each other within here.
I think actually Nick Milano, the town administrator, I think we have a new assistant town administrator, that's one of his focuses is working on communication within the town. But to speak to what's going on here, our town Park and Rec website, we've been trying to upload everything that has been presented to the public on that website.
And I think you just reminded me too, we also have this as a remote meeting. Listen, I think a lot of our parents too are busy these days and, so what I would like to do too, maybe Ryan, we could just ask anybody who's online, if you wanna raise your hand and ask any questions, that would be great too. And I do see some other folks online. But that's another communication that I think has been very helpful for us, cause maybe people can't come to in-person meetings. So at least we have some followers online as well. And then we also record these meetings, so then those are also shared on Milton Public Access TV. So that's another communication piece that kind of goes out to the community.
Awesome.
And then I had said to some other folks too, we meet monthly, and so like I know we meet early in the morning, so that's tough for some people. I know it's like 7:30, but I think our door's open, or also we just email us. Send us an email and we'll make time. We'll make time.
Are there any calendars that you can like subscribe to so that you can know when upcoming meetings are?
On our town website, you can subscribe to a calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just wanna thank you for raising the issue around communication. So, there's a small group in town called, we're a nonprofit, it's called Partnership for a Healthy Milton. And the forum that Jess was mentioning last fall was bringing together tons of different key stakeholders in Milton last year to really talk about communication, because it's really an issue of inclusivity. People who stay in the know, people who are in the know stay in the know, people who are out of the know. And so it's actually an issue that the partnership worked with a lot of partners, a lot of folks, and including Carolyn and the town, the new assistant town administrator is wonderful and has agreed to take on communication. And I know there's a working group working with him around it, related to Partnership for Healthy Milton and some other folks. So just to put it out there, I really appreciate you raising communication as an issue, because it's such an engine of everything we do. And so I appreciate that and just wanna let folks know, hopefully it will be addressed in the next year or two in terms of like solutions and hopefully maybe even this year some more immediate solutions. So just wanna thank you for putting that out there.
Can I just make a comment? I don't know if there's a balance between, I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm one of those people, but is there a balance between people who aren't on Facebook and Facebook? You use both platforms, the town platform, I look at the town platform all the time. The internet, I can see most, but not all of the things that are on Facebook.
I think we try our best, and I'm on the CPA committee, so I know we struggle with our communication too. I will say it's a struggle sometimes. We try to do our best. Like I think Bonnie tries to get out, to town email and stuff. But I think it's certainly something that we can continue to improve on, right? The one good thing with the CPA is now we have an admin for our CPA. We just hired her recently, and so that will be a big boost for our group, because they can get out, they can get out word. We're all volunteers at the end of the day, so it's also that's a challenge to us as well.
Did we miss a question on the side? Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. First of all, I love all these plans as a parent that spends a lot of time at Flatley and Andrews. Oh my God, these would make such a big difference. Is this field here the only one that you're recommending lights on, or are you recommending lights for Andrew as well?
We don't typically recommend lights on a natural turf field.
Okay.
Only because you're already using the heck out of them to begin with, and so if I throw lights on them, you guys are gonna play on them until someone kicks you off. And then Kevin's gonna be like, I can't maintain it, Ryan, what'd you do to me?
Yeah.
It's just hard when the 4 p.m.
Yeah, it is.
sundown.
Just anecdotally, anyone who knows, my wife's president in Milton Soccer, so Flatley, which is totally used this way as well, is they've rotated the field so much recently that like the wear spots are just getting so bad,
Yeah.
right? Because they're just constantly rotating. We don't have fields that we can rest. We don't have that much field space that we're like, hey, we have an abundance of grass that we can just let it rest. And so that's the challenge as we go forward. I would love to go find 20 acres in Milton and go develop them as parks and have beautiful soccer fields. If someone finds it and then has the money to pay for it, then our door's open, right? Let's figure out how to fund it, but that's just a realistic case that we have in town.
Kevin, I have a question for you. In terms of lights, would lights be prohibited at Kelly Field because of the cost or because the danger of kids coming in and being there all night?
Neighbors and the youth and kids being there, yeah.
I think at a certain point too, the only fields that we have in town right now with lights on are the high school. And we did a major CPA project with that. That was a huge improvement, by the way. We took halogen lights and went to LED lights. That saved the town. It's saving us money because the energy usage for that, those lights are huge. But that's also really expensive. That was like I don't even remember. It was like 250,000 or something, Tommy, at the time. 300,000, and we have a new proposal in this year just for Brooks Field, and that's $450,000. That's just for lights, and that's just for LED.
The noise pollution is also low, so like when you're in a residential area, it's a good solution, more costly, the impact.
Yeah, the impact is big, so if we put like lights at Kelly, right? This is just some of the issues I'm gonna see, like if we do pickleball, those neighbors who might be applicable to that during the day might be okay, we'll deal with it during the day, but let me tell you, if you start playing pickleball around 10 o'clock at night, you're gonna be getting major noise complaints.
Trust me, our group won't be playing pickleball.
We're all over 60, come on.
Yeah.
We are when it gets down.
But what I will say is at least if we do put them here, you don't have any issues with neighbors or anything, right? You could put lights on pickleball courts here and you could play, all the time.
Throw this out, we certainly haven't talked about this with the board. The other thing those lights can do is we can turn them down so that when there's not an athletic game going on, there's a low level light around the field so that people could use a walking path at night.
Yeah.
It can have like a safety level of light and a playing level of light. So there's a lot of flexibility that can happen there, because I know it's kind of an isolated spot.
The one great thing about the new lighting is it focuses the light on the surface, where old lights would just spill out and it would really be a nuisance to neighbors, but the new lighting is just so much better. But I would think too, as we go forward and develop these plans and there's lighting, there's gonna have to be times when like the lights can't be on for a certain time and all that, right? It only makes sense to play so late,
So they could be turned off if we ever got lights at Kelly Field. They could be turned off.
Are you talking the whole field or just pickleball?
Pickleball. Well, whatever, I mean, but you could shut them off, so that the kids wouldn't come and they wouldn't have a problem with the neighbors. You shut them off at 8 o'clock.
You're right, you could, yeah. During the fall.
No.
Any other questions, guys?
Thank you all very much.
So what are the next steps from here? I'm not sure if you said that, like what?
We have a
Just
report.
Stay in touch with me.
We have a report,
That's it, we're done.
Sorry, somebody else, what are next steps, so, what were you saying?
We have a report that we're putting together, it's basically done, we should have already provided to the rec commission, but we haven't quite yet. I was kind of playing with some of the language over it. We're gonna issue that report to the rec committee, they're gonna review it, give us some feedback, and then after we correct that feedback, I assume it'll be made available for the public to comment on and review themselves.
And then our next challenge is how we move forward on some of these improvements, right? We're already starting it, as I mentioned. We already have some of these initiating. Andrews Fields, which you saw tonight, that's in for CPA funding. right? So that went through an eligibility stage, that's now gonna go to a funding stage. That's one project that we pick up on. Steven's got one application in for the baseball diamond. So we're already starting to initiate some of this work. Some of the big work, like Flatley, is a whole nother piece, right? We know it's gonna come with big funding, and so, but I'm a good fundraiser. Judy will tell you that. So,
Awesome, so we'll be in touch then.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Rob.